The twin moons of Veltron 5 moved slowly across the sky, casting a pale silver light over the dry hills. Wind howled outside the metal walls of Outpost Delta 9. It was a lonely place, far from any city, sitting on cracked desert land with only sand, machines, and silence inside. The lights flickered as the old power cells struggled to hold a charge. The air smelled of metal, dust, and something faintly burnt. A human named Tom lay sleeping on a narrow cot in the back room. He had dark circles under his eyes and grease stains on his hands. The past 3 days had been non-stop work. When the cargo freighter's core was close to exploding, it was Tom who fixed it, with no help, no backup, no real tools, just his mind, his hands, and a bit of luck. Now he was asleep, breathing slowly. A soft beep from the outer door went unnoticed. She entered without a sound. The figure moved with grace, her silver skin smooth like polished stone. She wore a dark bodysuit, simple but strange, and her tall frame made her look almost like a statue. Her eyes glowed a soft blue. She didn't speak. She simply walked to the center of the room and looked at the sleeping man. The monitors behind her blinked quietly. A camera scanned her face. A red alert flashed once, then faded. The system had accepted her. She stood still, waiting. 10 minutes passed, then 15. Then Tom's eyes opened. He stared. For a moment, he didn't move. He thought he was dreaming. But the woman didn't vanish. She was still there, tall and silent in the dim light. Tom sat up quickly. "Who are you?" he asked, reaching under the cot for the emergency tool wrench. The woman raised both hands slowly. "I mean no harm," she said. Her voice was calm and smooth, like soft music. "I was sent by the Veltron Council. I'm your reward." Tom blinked. "What?" She tilted her head slightly. "Your actions saved 30 lives. The Council believes you deserve honor. I volunteered to serve." Tom stood now, still holding the wrench. "Serve? What does that mean? Who even are you?" "I am Vara," she said. "I was grown in the Council's labs for high-intellect service and diplomacy. I learned 14 languages. I was trained in engineering, strategy, and protection. I chose this assignment when I saw your record. You are human, but you are also different." Tom sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Look, I didn't save those people for some reward. I did it because it needed doing. I don't need someone to follow me around." Vara took a slow step forward. "I know. That is why I chose you." Tom narrowed his eyes. "You chose me, yes," she said. "Rewards are usually given by selection, but in rare cases, we are allowed to choose our own. I watched the recordings. You worked for 37 hours without rest. You used scrap metal, broken wires, and an AI with missing logic chips. No one else could have done it. You are not just clever. You care. Deeply." Tom lowered the wrench. "So what? You're just going to live here now?" "I asked for permission to stay," she said. "Not to worship you. Not to serve tea or clean tools. I wish to work, to learn, to protect if needed, to walk beside you." Tom gave a small laugh. "You're really serious about this, aren't you?" Vara nodded. "Yes." The silence stretched again. Tom looked at the power monitor on the wall. A red warning light blinked. He sighed. "If you really want to help, that core is going to shut down by morning unless I reroute the backup lines. I already repaired them," Vara said softly. Tom stared. "You what?" "I arrived 2 hours ago. I studied your systems. The coolant line was blocked by sand. I cleared it. The cables near the power bank were damaged. I used spare wire from the drone bay." Tom stepped out and checked the screen. The numbers were steady now. Stable. He turned back slowly. "Why fix it if I hadn't accepted you?" "I did not need permission to stop harm," Vara said. "And this outpost is yours. I came to help, not wait." Tom scratched the back of his neck. "You're not what I expected." "I get that response often," Vara said. He sat on a nearby stool, thinking. "All right, you can stay, but not as some kind of reward. If you're here, you work like I do. No special treatment." "I would not want it," Vara said. Tom pointed to the console. "Then run diagnostics on the comm array tomorrow." The storm knocked out half the links. Vara gave a short nod. Understood. As she turned to leave the room, Tom called out, "One more thing." She stopped. "If you ever sneak into my room while I'm sleeping again, I'm locking the door with a level 5 lockdown." Var looked over her shoulder. Noted. She walked away, silent as before. Tom lay back down and stared at the ceiling. "Reward," he muttered. "What kind of planet gives you a reward that fixes your wiring before sunrise?" He closed his eyes again, and for the first time in weeks, he fell into a deep, easy sleep outside. The desert wind blew softly against the metal walls, and in the control room, a quiet figure worked beside the hum of machines, adjusting settings, monitoring power, and reading every human manual she could find. She had arrived, and she was not leaving. The sun rose slowly over Veltron 5, casting golden light on the sharp rocks and endless sand around Outpost Delta 9. Inside the control room, the machines were already awake. Screens blinked with green signals. The hum of energy flowed gently through the floor. Tom entered the room, rubbing his eyes, holding a cup of bitter station-made coffee. He stopped near the main console and saw her again. Vara. She stood in front of the display, hands behind her back, watching the data scroll across the screen. Her silver skin seemed to glow faintly in the sunlight. She turned her head slightly. As he approached, "Good morning," she said. Tom sipped his coffee. "Is it?" She nodded. "Power systems are stable. The communication array is operational again. I finished running diagnostics on the long-range channel for signal leaks. All repaired." Tom paused. "You did all that already?" "Yes. I began working during the early cycle." He walked over and checked the logs. Everything matched. Var had done exactly what she said, and even more. She had cleaned the inside of the weather scanner and recalibrated the backup oxygen pump. Tom let out a breath. "You sure you weren't built in a human lab?" "I was built on Veltron," Var said, "but I studied human systems for years. Your tools are less advanced, but your methods are clever. I enjoy learning from them." Tom set his cup down and sat at the console. "You fixed half the outpost in one night. Don't you sleep?" "I enter rest mode once every 4 days," she replied. He looked at her carefully. "So you're not fully organic?" "I am a hybrid," Vara answered, "organic base, but enhanced with neural mesh and biochips. I am not a machine, but I can work longer than most life forms." Tom raised an eyebrow. "You really think you're some kind of gift?" She turned to him, serious. "I am not a gift. That is just the word the council uses. I chose this task because I wanted to be near someone who does what others think is impossible." Tom leaned back in his chair. "So I'm a challenge to study?" "No," she said. "You are a story I wanted to be part of." That made Tom pause. Vara walked to the supply rack and pulled out a data pad. "The mining drones are still offline. Shall I begin repairs?" Tom waved toward the bay. "Be my guest. Just don't break them more." She gave a short nod and walked off. For the next few hours, Tom watched her work. She opened drone panels like she had built them herself. She adjusted parts using a small multi-tool she carried on her wrist. She moved fast but carefully, always checking each system before restarting it. Tom joined her after a while. "You missed a spark coil in this one." "No," Var said, smiling slightly. "It was already burned. I replaced it with a micropulse converter. It should run faster now." He checked. She was right. They worked together until the sun reached its peak. Then Tom called for a break. They sat on crates near the shaded edge of the hangar, drinking water from small metal flasks. "You ever been stationed this far out before?" Tom asked. "No," Var said. "This is my first long-term field posting. Most of my past tasks were in cities or council ships." "Then why do you come to a dusty outpost with one grumpy engineer?" She looked at him. "Because you built a cooling system out of broken kitchen equipment. Because you rewired an entire ship using cargo net cables. Because you told the ship's AI to shut up during a crisis and saved everyone anyway." Tom laughed a little. "You watched the whole file, didn't you?" "Yes," Var said. "Twice." He shook his head. "Well, I hope you enjoy sandstorms and silence." "I enjoy purpose," she replied. Tom stood up. All right then, partner. Let's see if you can fix the water recycler next. They worked side by side for the rest of the day. Vara asked questions sometimes, but most of the time, she worked in silence. Tom noticed how quickly she adapted to each tool, how easily she understood old systems most people avoided. Later, as the sun dropped low and the sky turned orange, Tom stood at the edge of the outpost watching the horizon. Vara joined him, her eyes scanning the sky. "There's something different about you," he said. "I know," she replied. "You don't act like someone who was sent. You act like someone who belongs." She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "Maybe I was always meant to be here. Maybe the council just gave me the door." Tom looked at her. "Well, door or not, you've done more in one day than most folks do in a week." Vara looked up at the stars beginning to shine. "Then let us see what we can do in a month." Tom smiled for the first time that day. "Yeah, let's s." Night settled over Veltron 5. The desert wind picked up again. Inside the outpost, systems blinked steady green. For the first time in years, Outpost Delta 9 was fully operational. And for the first time in his life, Tom didn't feel alone out here. A week passed on Veltron 5, and the outpost changed more than Tom expected. The drones were up and working. The communication lines were running smooth. The oxygen recycler, which had failed 5 times in 2 months, now hummed quietly. Var had even built a small weather sensor on the roof using parts from an old satellite dish. Tom watched her one evening as she adjusted a sensor by hand, standing on the edge of the roof. The wind blew strong, but she kept her balance without effort. She moved like someone who belonged to the wind, like she had done this all her life. Tom shook his head and smiled. He had to admit it, she was good, better than good, and she wasn't just helpful with machines. She listened. She understood what the outpost needed, and what Tom needed too, even before he said it out loud. Still, Tom hadn't called her a partner. Not yet. That changed the next day. The morning began quietly. With a sky full of dust and wind, Tom worked in the drone bay, tuning one of the older machines. Var ran system checks from the control room. Everything seemed normal. Then the ground shook. It was sudden. Like a heavy hammer had struck the earth from below. Tools clattered to the floor. Lights flickered. Tom grabbed the wall to keep his balance. "Vara, report," he said through the comm. "Seismic event detected." Her voice came quickly. "Magnitude 6, epicenter less than 1 mile from the outpost. No structural collapse yet, but we may have a second wave." Tom rushed outside. The sand trembled beneath his boots. A crack split the rocky ground near the fuel tank. Alarms screamed from the main tower. Then came the second wave. This one hit harder. The tower shook. A support beam near the top cracked and broke loose. Tom heard the screech of metal. And then it fell. Tom stood frozen as the beam dropped toward him. It was fast, heavy, sharp at the end. He didn't have time to move. But Var did. She appeared from the side like a flash of silver and blue. She threw herself forward, shoving Tom away from the danger. The beam hit the ground where he had stood. Dust filled the air. Tom rolled over and coughed. He looked up and saw Var lying nearby, her back against the wall. The beam had missed her by a few inches. "Are you all right?" Tom shouted. "I'm functional," Var said, standing up slowly. Her left arm sparked once, but she ignored it. Tom rushed to her side. "You could have been crushed. Why did you do that?" "You are the outpost's lead engineer," she said. "Your survival is priority." Tom frowned. "Don't say that like you're just following orders. You didn't even think. You jumped in without hesitation." Var looked at him. "I made a choice. I would do it again." Tom stared at her for a moment, then helped her inside. "Come on, let's fix that arm." Inside the workshop, Tom cleaned the damage. The outer skin had torn slightly, revealing the faint glow of the tech beneath. Her frame was tough, but the quake had bent one of the small energy lines in her elbow. He worked carefully, his hands steady. Var sat quietly, watching him. "You saved my life," Tom said after a while. "Yes," she replied. "Not because of programming, not because someone told you to, But because you wanted to. That is correct. Tom nodded. All right, then I guess it's time I stopped calling you an assistant. Vara tilted her head. You're my partner now, Tom said, officially, from today on. Vara's expression didn't change much, but her voice was lighter when she answered. Thank you. That means more than you know. They finished the repairs. The outpost had taken a few hits, but it still stood strong. Tom and Vara worked together for the rest of the day, clearing debris and fixing cracked systems. When the council checked in later, Tom gave a full report. He didn't mention the falling beam. He didn't say how close he came to being crushed. He simply said, thanks to Vara, the station remains at full function. That night, the two sat near the small observation window, looking out at the desert stars. You know, Tom said, I used to think this outpost was a punishment, like someone back at command forgot I existed. Do you still feel that way? Vara asked. Tom shook his head. Not anymore. Not since you showed up. They sat in silence for a while. I was trained to assist, Vara said. But I prefer building things, creating, fixing, fighting beside someone who sees me as more than a reward. Tom looked at her. That's because you are more. You've proven that. He reached out and handed her a small tool chip. What's this? She asked. Station key code. It links to my command systems, he said. You'll need it, in case I'm not around. Vara took the chip carefully, holding it like it was something valuable. I'll guard it well, she said. Tom leaned back in his chair. Good, because I think things are only going to get more interesting around here. Vara looked at the sky. Her sensors picked up strange energy readings far beyond the horizon. Something was coming. But for now, the outpost was calm, and for the first time since arrival. Vara allowed herself a moment of stillness. She wasn't a gift anymore. She was a partner. 3 days after the quake, the outpost had returned to full operation. Dust storms still came and went, but all systems were running smooth. The desert, though harsh, had its own kind of quiet beauty. Tom stood near the edge of the solar panels, checking alignment, when Vara stepped out of the control room. Long-range scan picked up an incoming vessel. She said. Tom looked up. Council ship? No. Vara replied. Skarn vessel. Military class. Not responding to normal communication. Tom frowned. The Skarn were known across the region aggressive, proud, and not friendly with humans. They believed in strength and control. Their leaders disliked the Council's peaceful ways, and they hated when other species shared technology with humans. Any reason they'd visit a remote outpost. Like this? Tom asked. Vara answered calmly. They may have learned about me. Tom's eyes narrowed. From who? Someone inside the Council may have leaked my assignment. Some Skarn leaders see my kind as unnatural, a blend of logic and loyalty they cannot control. Tom turned toward the sky. How long till they arrive? Less than an hour, Vara said. Tom moved fast. He ran back to the control room with Vara close behind. The display showed a large black ship approaching fast. Its hull was shaped like a sharp blade. No markings, no lights. Tom tapped the console, sending standard greeting message. No reply, Vara said. They are scanning us now. Tom looked at her. Think they'll try to land? No, they'll issue demands first. Right then, the main screen flashed. A rough voice filled the room. This is Commander Thorn of the Skarn military. You will surrender the unit called Vara to us immediately. Failure to comply will result in full strike on your outpost. Tom leaned over the mic. This is Engineer Tom, human operator of Delta 9. There is no unit here. Vara is not property. She is my partner. You're not taking her. The voice returned, harsher. You protect a council-bred experiment. She is a threat. You are now part of her crime. You have 1 hour to hand her over. The screen went dark. Tom turned to Vara. We're not giving you up. Not happening. Vara stood still, her voice soft. They may destroy the outpost. They will not hesitate. Tom shook his head. I've faced reactor meltdowns, pirates, and to desert snakes in my bed. I'm not scared of some Skarn shouting from orbit. He opened the emergency defense protocols. The outpost didn't have weapons, but Tom had built a few surprises over the years. He and Vara started working together fast. They rerouted energy from the mining drills, connected the weather ray into a signal jammer, and modified the transport bay doors to act as launch traps. They moved like clockwork. No panic. Just focus. You're serious about this, Var said while rewiring a heat coil. Of course I am, Tom said. You saved me. You fixed this whole place. You're not just some reward, Vara. You're family now. Var paused for a moment. No one had ever said that to her before. Then the sky rumbled. A blast shook the ground. Dust flew across the windows. One of the solar panels shattered. They're testing our shield, Var said. First strike warning. Tom stared at the console. Then let's show them what a reward and an engineer can do. The second blast came stronger. It hit the outer fence and melted part of the drone bay roof. Var activated the jammers. The station's signal lights blinked wildly, sending false images to the Skarn scanners. Tom triggered a dummy beacon that made it look like Var had escaped to a nearby ridge. The Skarn will send a ground team to find me, Var said. Then let's welcome them properly. Tom replied. They placed pulse charges under the sand, wired the drone controller to act as a trap trigger, and locked down the main gate with a timer. 30 minutes later, 3 black drop pods landed in the distance. Skarn soldiers in heavy armor stepped out and moved toward the outpost. 5 incoming, Var said. Watching the sensors. Standard shock troops. Plasma rifles. Their leader is wearing enhanced armor. Tom tightened his grip on the control pad. Time to play. The first soldier reached the drone bay door. As soon as he opened it, a burst of heat shot up from the floor. Tom's homemade sun flare. The soldier dropped. Stunned. The others rushed forward. Var hit the trigger, and 2 mining drones rolled out, spraying foam and sparks. The soldiers panicked. One fired at the foam, which exploded in smoke, blinding the group. Tom moved fast, opening a side panel to cut off their escape route. Then Var stepped outside. She walked straight toward them, unarmed, her hands raised. The Skarn leader shouted, "Surrender now. You cannot stop us." Var spoke clearly. "I was made to serve peace, but I will not serve fear, and I will never belong to anyone." The Skarn aimed their rifles. Before they could fire, Tom activated the last trap. A pulse wave shot through the sand, knocking all of them off their feet. Their weapons went dark. Power gone. Var stepped forward and removed the leader's helmet. "This outpost is under protection," she said. The soldiers, disarmed and beaten, called for pickup. The Skarn ship retreated from orbit without another word. That night, Tom and Var stood near the broken panel. "Well," Tom said, "I think they'll remember this place for a long time." Var looked at the stars. "They will not come back soon. Not while we stand together." Tom smiled. "Good, because I'm not giving up my partner for anyone." The Skarn ship was gone, but the tension at Outpost Delta 9 didn't fade. Tom and Var stood in the control room, staring at the screen where the ship had vanished from view. "They will return," Var said calmly. "Their honor demands it." Tom crossed his arms. "Let them. Next time we'll be ready." But even as he spoke, he knew the truth. If the Skarn sent a full attack fleet, the outpost wouldn't last long. His traps were clever, but temporary. The station had no real weapons, no shield generators strong enough for heavy strikes. Var turned to him. "There's one option. It is risky." Tom raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening." "I can enter the Skarn command network," she said. "If I reach their communication node, I can plant a false record. Make them think the outpost is now under council protection. If they believe that, they will not dare attack." Tom's eyes widened. "You want to sneak into their system. That's suicide." "I will not do it from here," Var explained. "But I can reach their outer relay station. They left a beacon drone near orbit. I saw the signal pattern. If I intercept it and feed the right data, their ship will receive false updates." Tom thought for a moment. "You need a stealth route." "The rich caves," Var nodded. "Yes. And I'll need one of the rovers." Tom walked to the workbench and picked up a scanner. "I'll help you prepare it." They spent the rest of the day working together. Var modified the rover's engine to make less noise. Tom installed a pulse cloak made from old mining equipment. They used parts from broken drones to create a small hacking node as the sun set behind the hills. The outpost was quiet again. Tom and Var stood beside the rover under the open sky. "You sure about this?" Tom asked. "Yes," Var said. "They will not stop unless we make them." Tom handed her a small patch with the outpost emblem. "We're this. You're one of us." Var placed the patch on her suit and gave a small nod. "Thank you." She climbed into the rover and drove off into the desert, heading toward the rocky ridges in the distance. Tom stood alone now. The silence felt heavier inside. He kept working. He reinforced the comm tower, rewired the backup batteries, and stayed close to the console, watching Vara's signal on the tracker. The signal moved slowly across the screen, heading north. 2 hours passed, then 3 dots, still no alert. Suddenly, the screen blinked. A red warning. Enemy scan detected, the system said. Tom's heart raced. He activated the defense beacons. The outpost lights dimmed. He checked the signal again. Vara had reached the relay drone. Her signal was steady. Then, a burst of data came through. The Skarn ship had picked up the false message. Tom read the lines as they appeared. Outpost Delta 9 now under direct council military protection. Do not engage. He let out a breath. Vara had done it, but the signal was still active. Tom tapped. "The MiG, Vara, status. Do you copy?" No answer. He tried again. "Vara, respond." Nothing. Then the tracker went dark. Tom stood frozen. He stared at the empty screen for a long time. Minutes passed, then the alarm beeped again. "Motion at Westgate," the system said. Tom ran outside, heart pounding, through the dust. He saw the rover returning slowly. Smoke rose from one side. A panel was missing. One of the wheels dragged badly. The vehicle stopped, and Var stepped out, limping slightly. Her left leg sparked, and a piece of her shoulder armor was cracked. Tom rushed over. "What happened, Skarn?" "Drone patrol," Var said. "They spotted the rover as I left. I outran them, but they damaged the system." Tom helped her inside. "You made it back. That's what matters." Var sat on the bench while Tom examined the damage. Her leg joint was hit by a sharp blast. Her internal coolant lines were leaking. She had lost power in her left arm. "You did it?" Tom said as he patched the wiring. "The message worked. They're backing off." Var nodded slowly. "Then we have time. To prepare. To grow." Tom looked at her. "You should rest." "I will recharge once my systems stabilize," she replied. "But I would like to remain here, near the console." Tom handed her a power link. "Then stay here. We're stronger together anyway." He pulled up the map of the area. "If the Skarn retreat holds, we might get a full month of peace." Var spoke softly. "Enough time to improve the shield array. Enough time to add armor plates to the outer wall." Tom smiled. "And maybe upgrade the food dispenser. I'm tired of dried cubes." Var blinked once. "I will look into flavor improvements." Tom sat beside her in silence. The wind howled outside, but the outpost felt steady. "You risked everything," he said after a moment. "You would have done the same," Var replied. Tom looked at her, voice quiet. "Yeah, I would." Outside, the desert stars glowed in the sky. Inside, the lights dimmed gently as the system entered low power mode. But two figures remained awake, one human, one hybrid, both bruised, both standing, both refusing to back down. Together, they had pushed back a threat. Together, they were becoming more than a team. They were becoming a legend. The night was deep and silent at Outpost Delta 9. Tom sat at the main console, eyes fixed on the distant horizon. The stars shone cold above the desert plains, and the wind whispered faintly through the broken solar panels. The Skarn threat still hung over the outpost like a dark cloud, but for now, there was no attack. Var had prepared for the most dangerous part of her plan. She was going to board the Skarn frigate orbiting the system. Alone. Tom knew the risks. The Skarn ships were heavily guarded. Their security systems were advanced. But Var had the skills and courage he admired. "I will not ask you to come," Var said, her voice soft but firm. "This mission is mine." Tom nodded. "Just promise me you'll come back." I will do everything to return, she answered. Vara suited up and checked her equipment. Tom handed her a small device. This will scramble their sensors long enough for you to get close. She took it carefully. Thank you, with a final nod. Vara left the outpost in a small stealth rover. The ground below her blurred as she raced toward the hidden landing pad where the Skarn frigate rested. Inside the frigate, Vara moved silently. Her enhanced senses guided her through dark corridors and high-security doors. She avoided patrols with careful timing and used her knowledge of Skarn technology to bypass locked systems. Her goal was clear: find the command node and upload them. The virus Tom had helped design. The virus was simple but powerful. It would shut down the ship's weapon systems, disable communications, and give the outpost a chance to escape destruction. Minutes felt like hours as Vara crept closer to the core control room. Suddenly, a loud alarm blared. Vara froze. A Skarn guard appeared at the corner. Quickly, she ducked into a nearby ventilation shaft. The guard searched, but Vara stayed hidden. When the coast was clear, she pressed forward. At last, she reached the command node. The console was large and glowing with red warning lights. Vara plugged in the hacking device. The virus began uploading. The progress bar moved slowly. The guard returned. Vara had no choice. She stood and faced him. He raised his plasma rifle. Vara's hand moved faster. She activated a pulse emitter from her wrist, sending a shockwave that knocked the guard to the floor. The upload finished. The ship's systems began to shut down. Lights flickered. Doors locked. Weapons cooled. Vara ran back to the airlock just as the Skarn reinforcements arrived. She launched herself into the waiting stealth rover. Tom had prepared to pick her up. Engines roared. She sped away as the frigate went dark behind her. Back at the outpost, Tom watched the screen anxiously. Suddenly, the Skarn ship's signals disappeared. No weapon fire. No pursuit. Vara, Tom whispered. You did it. Vara returned, injured but alive. She limped inside, and Tom quickly tended to her wounds. You were amazing, Tom said. I never doubted you for a second. Vara smiled faintly. Together, we stopped them. The next day, the council sent a message of thanks, not just to Tom, but to both of them. The galaxy now knew that the human engineer and the hybrid warrior had saved Veltron 5. Tom and Vara stood side by side, looking out over the desert. They were no longer just man and machine, or reward and engineer. They were partners, equals, and the stars seemed a little closer that day. The sun rose over Veltron 5, its warm light spilling across the desert plains and sparkling on the metal walls of Outpost Delta 29. The outpost was no longer just a lonely station at the edge of the galaxy. It had become a symbol, a sign of hope, unity, and strength. Tom stood outside the main workshop, wiping dirt from his hands. Vara was nearby, repairing one of the mining drones. The desert wind lifted grains of sand, but they barely noticed. Have you thought about what comes next? Tom asked. Vara looked up, a small smile touching her lips. We build. We grow. We protect. Tom nodded. That's what I want to. This place needs to be more than a stop on the map. I want to turn it into a real research center. A place where humans and aliens work together. Vara straightened and joined him. I have been studying your languages and customs. I want to help make this place a home. Tom grinned. Home. That's good. They walked inside the outpost, where new parts were arriving from the council supply ships. Scientists and engineers of many species were already settling in, curious about the strange partnership that had stopped a warship. A message arrived on the main console. The Veltron Council sent a new official order. Effective immediately, the message said. Engineer Tom and Vara are appointed co-leaders of Outpost Delta 9. They will share command and work together to protect Veltron 5. Tom looked at Vara, surprised. She smiled softly. We did this together. Yeah, Tom said. We did. The days that followed were busy. Tom taught the newcomers how to repair old human machines, while Vara worked with the Veltron diplomats, bridging gaps between species. One evening, as the outpost quieted, Tom and Vara sat on the observation deck, watching the twin moons rise. You ever think about where you came from? Tom asked. Vara thought for a moment. I was grown in a lab, made for service. But I chose my own path. Tom smiled. Sounds like me. They laughed softly. Suddenly, a young Viltran scientist approached. Commander Vara, she said, the council wants you to meet with other leaders soon. They are interested in your story. Vara nodded. I will go. Tom stood beside her. I'll come with you. Together, they walked into the future. Outpost Delta 9 had become more than a place. It was a home, a family, and a legend. When asked who Vara was, she no longer called herself a reward. I am his partner, she said simply, his equal. Together, we protect what matters, and across the stars, their story inspired others. The story of a human engineer and a hybrid warrior who showed the galaxy the true meaning of loyalty, courage, and friendship.